Good day, everyone. So, I just made a video that was like almost an hour long, and my mic was off. So, let me just quickly redo it. I don't think I'm gonna spend as much time as I did with that one. I'm just gonna point out, still pretty much the same thing that we went over this last 2 weeks. Still looking at this pullback. I pointed out these last 2 weeks a few areas of interest that I was looking at. Remember, this isn't financial advice. It isn't to say buy or sell. This is just me showing you guys what I'm looking at and why this particular area is an area of interest for me. So I list the confluences, this, resistance, support, trend, all of those good stuff, and then make up my mind from there. So I just quickly want to go through where we could potentially head to this week. Remember, it's a very important week. We have this Fed rate decision over here, 13th, so it's around Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were looking at this area for it to drop to this area by then, but I don't know if we'll make it unless the market just opens tonight and just plummets. I don't see that happening, but what do I know? So I'll just quickly go over these things again, and then we'll see what potential areas we can look at this week. So at the bottom we have our main support, the major support line at the bottom of our channel from the 2008 crash low, Corona crash low, not quite. And then we're looking at this inner trend line, right? We also have support. Why does this thing do it like this? Just put the thing that I want there. Why did they change this? Support, 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 and potential support now, right? Go down to I don't know why the internet's so slow today, but taking its time to load these candlesticks. Alright, so we were looking at this area here. Now, if this thing just plummets, let me just remove this one here so it doesn't look so untidy. Alright, and once again over here we have our broken resistance, right? And it could still, but like I said, it'll have to drop very sharply to reach this area by then, which I'm not so sure, man. It's see what I'm saying? It's possible. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It could maybe just say, okay, but let's not bank on that happening. Where was I? Yeah, let's not forget the Fibonacci retracement. from the COVID low to the high, pulled back into the golden pocket area, just tapped the 61.8, right? And could maybe even doesn't necessarily have to touch this trend line, but there was just an extra confluence if it does. So I'm still looking at this area, right? With that said, I don't know how the market's going to react to the Fed decision this week. The Fed might say something the market likes, and then it rallies, and then it breaks out and changes structure. Or the Fed might disappoint the markets and hike even higher and just send us down. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see until then. So this week I pointed out several areas, right? First I pointed out this area for you guys along this trend line. Now we had both the outer and inner. Let me just do this outer one, right? But I pointed out the inner trend line and the resistance over there to you guys. So let me just remove this for now. As you guys can see, resistance, 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 right? I think this was the NFP over here. So we turned off from there, right? I then showed you guys that if we break this trend line, we should be on our way down. I pointed out the support and resistance at this 50% Fibonacci level. Right? Support, resistance, 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 support, support, resistance, 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 support, resistance, resistance. Right? Pointed out the anchored VWAP from the this is the NFP, right? So remember this anchored VWAP. I can't really explain it. I think it would be best to check out the guy who actually invented the indicator, Brian Shannon. Is his channel on YouTube, Alpha Trends, I think. You'll be able to explain the anchored VWAP. I think it's a very useful tool. I use it now in conjunction with the rest of my analysis, right? And I had switch this to 60, the 5-day moving average. So let me put it to 60 because we're on the 2-hour chart. Right, the 5-day moving average and this trend line of resistance. Now when I made this video, I pointed out that I was going to start scaling in entries in here, right? But I wasn't going to go too hard. I was going to put a stop loss above this high, scaling some entries here because I mentioned to you guys the possibility of it pulling up a bit further. I didn't know how the market was going to react to the PPI, right? So we could have had the spike into this area, at which point I would have looked for more entries, but it held. I'm glad I scaled in some entries. So initially what happened was we had a drop, right? And then I added some more on the retest, pullback here. I actually went down to the smaller time frame and drew a trend line. Yeah. Resistance, support, break support, resistance. So I added some spice there as well. I actually had entries on Nasdaq, S&P 500 and US 30, but I closed that US 31 because the US 30 looks way more bullish. I'll show you guys at the end of this Nasdaq analysis just some of the stuff I'm looking at on the other charts as well. So where are we now? You go back to the 2 hours, sorry. Right, that all combined to give us an entry there. Divergences, this peak. Right, and even with this peak. So there was quite a number of confluences there. So with regards to the other areas that I called out, I think was the week before last, we had a few buys. I pointed out these areas, right? Those worked out. And then this past week, I pointed out these areas. So pretty well. Did pretty well since I started this channel. Remember, it's just financial advice. I'm showing you guys what I'm looking at so that you guys can, take what you can from it, what value you can see, how you can implement certain things that I'm looking at, and implement it into your own strategy. So the channel is purely educational. So make use of it. Don't know how long I'll be doing this for. I actually started doing this again because I find that it helps keep me sharp, man. Points out areas that I might miss when I'm probably lazy, whatever. So do we go further down? Now I think we could maybe pull up to this area over here, right? To the Fibonacci extension. If we I'm going to take away this big Fibonacci. I don't want there to be too many lines on the chart. Right, so I'm going to mark this off with this green line, gray line, that area over there. Just take this away. Let's look at Fibonacci this way, from this low to this high. This area would sit in this golden pocket. So why I'm pointing out this area instead of like all the way down here is I think it's likely that we maybe get a bounce there, maybe we then break and then test the bottom of this trend line. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm speculating. It could just fall straight to here, right? The market could just say, hey, and sell off dramatically before the Fed. And then maybe the Fed decides, okay, let's lighten up this rate hikes and then we see something. All within the realm of possibility. But I'm looking at this area to take some profits off from these entries that I took. So In order for that to happen, we have now broken this trend line of support, right? Support, 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 broken it. Haven't quite retested it. We'll see what happens. Maybe this thing just fakes us out, finds support here, then goes and tests that, and then a drop. I don't know. I can only speculate based on the price action. So for us to get to this level, we have to defeat pretty much this level that we're at right now, man. You know, it's still holding as support. You can see resistance, resistance, support, 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 right? So, wait, there's something else. Oh yeah. If I take this anchored VWAP from this low. Now remember guys, this doesn't mean that it will hold as support. It's just places to look at for potential support, right? So you combine them with the rest of your analysis. So if we take the anchored VWAP from the last low, right, we'll see support, support, resistance, 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 support, not quite, but so that's why I say could maybe have a drop, maybe then this could happen, and we could maybe look for a entry back up to there, and then maybe another opportunity to sell. That's a possibility, but I would like for this thing to now just continue dropping. We have some pretty bullish, I mean bearish candle formations here. Evening star formation, hanging man, bullish, bearish, and then some divergences. So I'm hoping this now pushes us down this week now. Alright. So this is area number one I'm gonna look at. Take some profit off the positions that I have. I don't wanna close these ones too early. Let's see how far I can hold those for. But I'm gonna look to see for potential buy, even if it's just, you know, to come and retest this. If it does break this area, then perhaps we bounce there, retest it, and then down. Let me change the color of this brush, man, because it's now just looking like the anchored VWAP. Purple. Or we break it, retest it, and then only come down here. Quickly throw this horizontal line here as well. Okay. I can just take it away. So, potential bounce of this Fibonacci extension from this high, this low, could potentially take us there, give us a bounce. Like I said earlier, it could just fall. I don't know if that happens, you know, because the market just doesn't fall straight down like that. But yeah, you have a pretty dramatic drop there. So it's like I say, it's not impossible either. We just have to follow the price action as it goes. Let's see how. Yep, it could happen that fast. Let's say 26, right? The 6th. But that took 7 days. What's the date now? 9. Yeah, 5 days. But I mean, it could maybe just come and hover this area. Doesn't necessarily have to. Wait, let's check here quickly. Move that one there. Move that one there. Still 7 days, about 5-6 days. It's not impossible, but like I say, this would likely be an area of interest. So I'm gonna put an alert on my. I'm gonna put it on my regular chart. Yeah. Then on the VIX. Yeah, this is still from the video that I made earlier. Let me just delete this. Once again. So we broke out of this downtrend, right, where we had resistance, 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 broke resistance, support. Now, we also broke this line of support here. So, support, support. So what could happen now is we could have this market push up. Remember guys, when this thing goes up, we go down on the Nasdaq. If this thing goes down, we go up. So if this thing pushes up further to this trend line, right, that could give us, let me see what time frame I have this thing. A push down to this area. And then we have a drop, right? Test this, and then back up, sending us potentially down again. Could play out that way. So yeah guys, those are the areas that I'm looking at this week, right? We now have to, we've broken this trend line, but we haven't quite broken the support area. So I would say this is still a risk for a bounce. But we'll see, maybe we break something like that. I think we break this. Can't say with 100% guarantee, but I think we break this, retest, and then this is the first area. If that breaks, that would be great. So let's look at the S&P 500 real quick. Yeah, this one looks like it could go down much further. We have this resistance at the top of this channel. Right, and I drew the channel this way and found this area of support, right, but not all the way down here, because there was the corona crash and I used that support where it broke back above there, right? And if you look at this trend line here of support, could now potentially be support here along with this support and this support. Now this means that the S&P 500 has a much further way to go down, right, which could cause, if I go back to the Nasdaq, you see, if it now falls further, that would cause me to worry, because now we've broken this main support. But at the same time, it could cause like a fake out, and then we think, the main support has been broken, it's done now, we're collapsing, and then it breaks back above, right? And I say that purely based on this area that I would, if that happens, then I would look at this anchored VWAP from the 2008 crash, right? And you can see it form support, 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 support. But that's the only reason I'm looking at that area there, right? So I think maybe because even, I mean, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones also skyrocketed way more than the Nasdaq, right? Way further up than the Nasdaq. So that doesn't necessarily mean that because this one might go further down, that the Nasdaq will go all the way down with it. Nasdaq could go down with it and then just, find support and start going like sideways or something, So while the S&P 500 drops, this could then just go sideways, right? But as you guys can see, this S&P 500 looks like it's ready to fall pretty hard. See the resistance. And get view from the high. So this trend line being broken as well. So let's see if that one drops as far as that US 30. Just go through this quickly as well. See this one on the other hand, I don't know how far the US 30 is going to drop, right? So I'm just looking at this trend line where it found support. Right? It rallied back up, broke this resistance. Wait, turn back here. Yeah. Right. Let's see what is anchored VWAP from this high. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Broke above that resistance. Then another interesting tool to look at also is like the 50-50 sell or buy signals, right? So let me quickly go back. Let me just finish this here. So if we look at the RSI on the weekly and we put on the 50 moving average, right? What do we see happen here with the 50-week moving average? It forms support, support, below it resistance, above it support, support, resistance, support, and resistance, resistance. And then if you look at the RSI, right? So the RSI, this 50 line over here, broke below it. What happened here was it overshot it a little bit, but broke back below it also here against this trend line of resistance, right? But now what we have is we now have a stronger break of that 50 mark on the RSI. So a pullback to there could mean that the Dow Jones might be might have formed its bottom. Draw a trend line on the RSI itself. You can see as resistance. 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 Breaks it. Support. So you see where I'm getting at with the Dow Jones. So that's just something to look at over there. That's an area I am keeping a close eye on. So yeah, guys, I almost asked, does anyone have any questions? I used to do live webinars on Sundays, but I prefer doing it this way. Just get the information out there. You guys can do with it what you please. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at, guys. S&P 500 looks like we're on our way down still. We'll have to see how far the S&P goes. The Dow Jones, I do believe we get a pullback. How far the pullback, I don't know. We could now maybe just do that also, you know. But I think it's more likely we do something like that. Let's quickly look at the Russell just for interest sake. Russell also, let's look at this 50-week moving average. Below it there. And then underneath the 50% on the 50 line here on the RSI. Missed it a bit over here. Overshot it, so it's not quite as clean on here. But you get the picture. It's doing the same things. However, if this thing now, let me look at this thing quickly, properly. If it now decides it breaks the previous resistance, broke, formed a double bottom support. Now if it breaks this, then this could be on its way down, but I don't think that happens now. Maybe a pullback back down here, we form a triple bottom or an inverse head and shoulders. Then maybe we rally and then get like a much larger push, who knows. But if you guys think that all of this is wrong and these markets are now gonna completely crash, that's fine. What you could do then is wait for these breaks of these major downtrend lines, and then you can see the US 30 Dow Jones has done that. So this one's starting to look quite a bit bullish to me. S&P looks very bearish to me, and Nasdaq, it's kind of somewhere in between, but I think it has another pullback, and then we'll see. Maybe we get another nice massive rally up until 2024, and then complete mayhem. Who knows? Alright guys, I hope that you guys find this information useful. You guys can go back in, you know, like the videos that I post, like I say, this is for educational purposes. So if you missed like the videos in the week, it's a good idea to go back to them and look at the areas that I pointed out. Look at why I pointed those areas out. Look at the confluences that I listed. So your confluences are your reasons for entry. What is in this area? Is it a known U-turn area? Right? So for instance, this trend line. is a known U-turn area, right? Because it's U-turn from here in the past. So these areas can then be potential U-turn areas in the future, right? So stuff like that. Your U-turn area, is there support there? How did the previous support look like there? Is it oversold? Is it overbought? Is there bullish divergence? Is there bearish divergence? Right? All these types of things. So the list of stuff that I look at is like, what's the trend? Do I have support? Do I have resistance? Do I have overbought, oversold conditions? Is there divergence? What does the candle pattern say? Do I have a reversal pattern, whether it's a bullish or bearish reversal pattern, like a head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, double bottoms, double tops, those types of stuff. How do the candles look like, candle formations? Do I get rejection at this area? Do I have a break of resistance and a test again of support, or vice versa? Right? Do I have counter trend line breaks? What does the Fibonacci level say? How's my mind? Because that's the most important. How's my state of mind? Am I accurately and properly implementing my risk management strategy? Right? And then only after all that do I consider what the news says. So, yeah. Another thing is, guys, I make use of prop firms. So that's really elevated my game. We used to trade with small money, trying to make big money, but it's not necessary anymore. There's now a thing called prop firms, so you can access large amounts of capital and trade with large amounts of capital, and they let you keep 80% of the profits, and they take all the risk with their money. Right? So I've tested a few, I've done a few, and I've been screwed by one in particular. There was some that, I just didn't like the kind of rules that they had. They had like, you can choose a swing account, but then they calculate your daily drawdown based on your equity. So let's say you keep your trade overnight, right? And you're in a profit. Let's say you have $100,000 account. At the end of the day closes and you $10,000 in profit, right? So $10,000 in profit. Now let's say the next day your daily drawdown is 5%, and if you choose your equity then starts to draw down from the 110,000, even though you didn't bank it. So let's say you want to keep your trades and wait for the next pullback to add more entries. You're likely to end up violating the rule, because if it goes back down, if your trade comes back down $5,000, even though you're still $5,000 in profit, you end up blowing the account and losing your profits. So stuff like that I don't like, man. So those are things that you should look for, because I had with the one dudes, I had like a $400,000 account, and I had like maybe like almost $80,000 to $90,000 in profit, and then I didn't know that that's the way they operated, and it tapped me out the next day. I lost all their profit. They refused to give it to me. I then thought, okay, now cool, you guys do me like this, I'm gonna make sure you guys pay me a lot more money, get more accounts. I traded 3 large sums of profit. They just refused to pay me out, and they took away my accounts. So I'm not even going to mention them, but who I do recommend that I've used, like the Fair, they calculate your balance on your daily drawdown on your balance, not on your equity. So with a swing account, you can hold your trades, it's fine. I get my payout every 2 weeks, never had an issue. So I would suggest you guys use FTMO. They're the leading in the industry. So I provided the link below in my description. You guys can get access up to $400,000 in capital. Now, if you're down here in Southern Africa, $400,000 times 17.5, that's 7 million rand you then have to work with. Now, you want to trade with 7 million rand or that 500 that you keep on trying with. That's all I'm saying. Use it, don't use it. So, yeah. Still looking pretty bearish. We'll have to see if we break the support area that we're at now. I think we do, but I could be wrong. Nothing I say is with absolute certainty. we have to play this things game. So let's see if we pull back. I would like to finish testing this trend line, and then hopefully we bullish. Alright guys, like I say, go back into the previous videos, back test them, draw the lines and stuff on your charts, see how it plays out, and then when you with your trading journey, you can see, okay, if I apply these things this way, does it work for me? Right? Alright guys, I'll see you in the week, and enjoy the evening.